So there are moments where I am absent, I am a ghost, I am unseen. But that does not mean I am missing out on the movies. Hello everyone, my name is Erin James. In this video, I'm going to do a quick catch up on movies that I have watched that I just never got around to making a video about. I do go to the movies, I do watch most movies the weekend of release because I complain that I do not have time to do things, but I do manage to give myself time to go to the movies. Cinema is very important to me, so that is something I do set scheduled dates for myself, and I don't necessarily go alone most of the time, but it is something that's very important to me, so I make sure I am able to at least go to the movies. I go to screenings, and some movies I do watch on streaming because some streamers have movies that are exclusive to their platform. Just when it comes down to actually recording a review, the amount of time that it would take to actually do it, which doesn't seem long because of how short my videos are, it does take a bit of time, particularly when it comes to writing the scripts and thinking about what points do I really want to present, because I do end up editing or cutting out things that I say, and I try to avoid spoiling it, and sometimes I teeter on minor spoilers, and I do that purposely. It's just a collection of things and transitioning from one point to the next. But I'm here to quickly go through a few of the movies that I've watched this year that I just never got around to making a solo review about. And I do mean just within the past month, not movies from earlier, because there are plenty of 2024 Tubi movies that I've watched that I'm just not going to get to. And I did watch Lift recently, and I'll just say it's exactly what I expected from this kind of movie. First, we have Afraid, or Smart House 2, written and directed by Chris Weltz, about a family that gets an AI system implemented into its home, only to find out that they are in trouble and it's not really beneficial to them, and things happen. We have seen a lot of horror movies recently that are like this, about a robot that's supposed to help you, an AI system, and I feel that we have yet, and I mean including myself when it comes to thinking of ideas, to really crack down on making it actually scary. And I mean that from my perspective. I personally am not very scared of technology. I mean, not since Terminator, of course. And I think it takes a really creative approach to make something terrifying, and when it comes to machinery, because they are tools. And I also think it takes a lot of taking risk and not trying to always make a happy ending, because we see that often with these movies. By the time we get to the end of the movie, I'm left with more questions than answers, such as who created this AI, if a person created it, how did it build itself, where did it build itself, how did it end up accomplishing a lot of the things that it happened to accomplish off screen when it comes to this movie, and just to get to the point that we are in now. This is a relatively good cast, just a pretty bad story with plot holes that seem to be overlooked, and if I were to overlook them, then I may have enjoyed myself a bit more. Next, we have We Strangers, which screened at multiple music festivals. I got the opportunity to attend a screener recently with a Q&A with the lead, and I really did not have much to ask because I was not sure how to feel about the movie. Now, when it comes to the acting itself or even the directing, I don't know if there's much really to speak on, because the story was so flawed that I don't know if any of them could have helped it. I will say I did appreciate the approach that is very different than what we would expect. I forgot to mention what this movie is about. It is about a woman who, just like many people, are working multiple jobs just to make it by, and we struggle. And so she takes on being a housekeeper for someone and a housekeeper for another person, and she decides to swindle them and play them and work off their racism and classism and bigotry. Their ignorance leads to her making quite a bit of money, and then I guess she ends up having issues. I feel like there was not really any major issue that we see aside from knowing that she's struggling with money, and not any major threats from anyone, especially the family, that I assumed we were going to get something from that. I was waiting for an actual story to happen, and this would actually be a good idea if approached well, and maybe with quite a few edits to the story, would make a good pilot when pitching, and could lead to something good. And we also have Beetlejuice. This was a collection of a lot of ideas that I find intriguing, interesting, and very true to Tim Burton's world and the world of Beetlejuice that would never make for a full feature. So they were crammed together because we got at least five plots. The tone, the movie, the world, it feels like Beetlejuice. And with Tim Burton directing, we didn't lose that feeling. And this is a movie that if I wanted to go back into Tim Burton's world recently, then this would fill that craving. But the stories were very convoluted. They ended up with very aggressively quick conclusions to each one of them, just as something came up and then another issue came up, then another, then we just rushed to close out a previous one, maybe because they forgot about it or they did not know how to really end all of them. We get the cast that does return did phenomenal. They still do great. I still like them here. We have the addition of Jenna Ortega and Willem Dafoe, and they did pretty good as well. Jeffrey Jones is not in this movie for obvious reasons, yet his character plays a pretty decent part of one of the subplots. Actually, a whole entire story or narrative is dedicated to his character, and they present him in a way that is pretty clever, but then I wonder why even give him that. Again, it feels like it was here to pad on for time, and the movie did not need to be an hour and 45 minutes. They could have stuck to the 90 minutes like the first movie. And anyway, still it expands on the world. I was entertained. I liked that it expanded on the world we were into, but there were too many callbacks, too many moments that were wasted for the sake of reminding you, hey guys, remember where we are. Not a strong ending, but maybe I would be open to a third movie to hopefully close out strong here. Last but not least, we have Rebel Ridge, written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. I believe the only other movie I've seen by Saulnier is Green Room, which I really enjoyed. I think he does really well at really building tension and putting people in situations that feel very difficult to get out of. And here, it's no different. We have Erin Pierre playing our lead, and it's about someone who gets in trouble with the police, and after these police do corrupt things, as police love to do, he ends up taking matters into his own hands and resolving issues to take care of people that he ends up caring about or he feels that have been wrong. I believe we found our next action star right here. Granted, he is a black man, so will we see him in many action movies in the future? Time will only tell, but I'm pretty doubtful. But can we get Todd McFarlane on the phone to call Pierre's agent immediately? This movie has really good, close, tight shots and the good choreography, good action scenes that aren't over the top. They feel very real, and I really believe the character was capable of doing that. I believe Pierre does his own stunts also here. I'm not entirely sure. The cast is pretty good. The writing is good. Again, the story never gets too crazy. It's never we're seeing the story happen. We're not seeing the writer move the beats. We're seeing actual choices made by our characters, even by the antagonist. We're seeing decisions made by them that make sense, that we understand why they're doing it, and we understand their motives. They even have a story that's not expositorily given to us in a way that feels like, of course, we have to give this to them. And we are not given too much exposition on Pierre's character. His character is someone that you learn about as you're watching them make moves, make decisions, do actions. You're not given this huge backstory to know everything about them. You build this rapport with them and you feel and connect with his character with what is seen on screen, including with his cousin. And that moment is so brief, and what we get, that part of the story is so brief, and yet it's strong enough to really, for you to understand why this person has this issue with these people. And it's not necessarily that he dislikes or hates cops. He's just upset with how this precinct or this division of police are functioning. I really enjoyed this movie. I really appreciate it. I realized that there's a movie between Green Room and this one called Hold on the Dark. I will be checking that out because Saulnier is 2 for 2 for me, and I want to see what else he's done. Rebel Ridge is probably the only movie here that I would recommend you watch, that I'm really excited for, and that I would personally watch again, especially because we have a lead I had never heard of who was able to deliver. And I like when we are given new actors in this rotation, because Hollywood loves to rotate through the same 10, 11 actors. Anyway, what movies have y'all seen recently? Which one of these have you seen and which ones did you like? Let me know, and until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, make sure you check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.